Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of After the Split. I want to start off by apologizing for a lack of episodes lately. As many of you know, I've recently started going to school full-time and working a bit part-time, so I've definitely had to reduce the amount of time given to streaming and other video content. I've really enjoyed lately taking part in other creators' events such as Sprash Game Show, and I've been doing a lot of hosting for charity marathons and stuff like that. So, kind of sad to say that the podcast has taken a bit of a backseat. That being said, this should have come out weeks ago, and I'd like to apologize to this week's guest for that. But without further ado, allow me to introduce the man, the myth, and the babe, A Broken Prophet. And welcome, A Broken Prophet, which I'm just going to call you Prophet from this point on, but who's mostly known for running Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Excited to be here. How are you?
I'm very well. I actually just got out of class. I feel bad. It's a little bit later just because of time zones and stuff, so I appreciate you for taking the time out.
It's good. Yeah, I've had a quiet evening after work, so I'm free all night for you.
I always like to kind of just get this out here because everybody, either it's a good story or it's just like, this was completely random. I don't know. How did you come about your username?
So there's actually a bit of a history to my username. So I originally started out on Twitch by the username Earth's Only God, which is very, very arrogant and very me. It's the name I still have as my PSN name. So I had that for my first few months, and then I started messing around my username to meme people. So I was watching somebody doing shiny hunting, and they were spending a long time looking for an Abra. So I trolled by calling myself the legendary shiny Abra for a little while, just to pop into the chat and be like, "Here I am, you can't find me, ha ha ha." So very childish.
This is all like before you were streaming?
It was before, long time before I was streaming, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually in my early 20s at this point, so yeah, just still very childish adult. And from that point onwards, I was going into a lot of Pokemon streams from there, and preaching the name of Dunsparce. So I became the prophet of Dunsparce.
Like the little, like, I don't know, it's just kind of goofy looking Pokemon.
This little boy.
Yeah.
Very cute. Yeah. So that is my favorite Pokemon. So I became the prophet of Dunsparce. I was going around streams preaching how Dunsparce will bring you great luck and fortune. So that was, I've had the name for probably a little bit over a year, stuck around. And it's probably still the one I'm most known for in a lot of communities, because I was very vocal on Twitch at that time.
Oh, okay.
And then during a period in HypnoShark stream, I was pushing to become a mod in his stream. And I, as a wrestling fan, I took up a wrestling gimmick, very out there, and decided I'd become the hero of chat and I'd become the savior of everybody. So I renamed myself the hero of chat, and I memed around with that for a few months until I decided I hated it. I wanted to go back to being prophet, but because it'd only been 3 months since my name changed, I couldn't go back to the prophet of Dunsparce.
Yeah.
So I went back to the whole wrestling thing, and I was a massive fan of Matt Hardy and his broken gimmick. So I thought I'd become a broken prophet. And after that, I started streaming, and it kind of just stuck. So I didn't want to change it after developing a brand, per se.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, so when's the next name change?
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to try and stick with this one for as long as possible now. I think I'm starting to become recognized. People know me now as Prophet. So I wouldn't stray too far if I did change, but no, I'm quite happy with it as a name. I think it suits me quite well.
Now, just complete the legacy for us here. While you were the hero of chat, did you wind up getting the Hypno mod?
I did become mod.
Nice.
And then I took the meme too far. I turned heel on everybody, and I lost mod in quite extravagant fashion.
He's just like, was it Icarus? He flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I got too close, and yeah, I had it ingloriously stripped from me one night. Deserving. I abused my powers. I really did become the anti-hero, and yeah, it was well deserved.
I feel like what an easy place to do it, though, too. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
it's just definitely, it's a meme fest.
It is definitely a bit of a meme place, and it still gives the odd little meme when like he has no mod around and somebody needs banning, and it's like, oh, re-mod me. It's just always a little joke in the chat now because it's never going to happen. I honestly don't really want it again. Like, it's not a responsibility. I go there. I go to most streams nowadays.
More just kind of chill.
Yeah, chill out and enjoy. Like, I'll mod for a few friends, but I'm not looking at becoming a mod in any streams or any bigger ones nowadays. It's more just the fun of being there watching.
For sure. Now, it's actually just because how it all works out. Twitch and Speedrun in particular is kind of small, but thankfully, because of Kieran, who also, known because of Hypno Shark, he's doing his game show Twitchmaster, which is the online take on Taskmaster, which is a show I never heard of actually before I saw his versions of it. And we're both currently on the active season, so it's been a lot of fun doing that with you.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it massively. Obviously, I was part of the original series. He was looking for runners of all different varieties. He was looking for like a Mario speedrunner, a Sonic speedrunner, a Crash speedrunner, and I just happened to be the closest person he had to a Sonic speedrunner, or closest friend to him as a Sonic speedrunner. So
Were you
I
guys
wiggled my
tight
way
like
in.
before, or was it really kind of through
We
that they're
weren't
like, oh, I know you more?
we weren't tight, but we definitely were friends. Like we played online every now and again with each other, so we knew each other, and obviously saw a lot in Hypno's chat. But yeah, I think we definitely became closer when it became a thing. Purely because we were spending the time together, obviously recording it and then doing the episodes. I was fortunate enough to sneak my way to a victory in that first one, and we planted the seeds early on that winner could potentially come back and be the host.
That's kind of
And
what I was gonna
yeah,
ask. Like, how did you wind up going from competitor to the host of the next series?
we did sort of we branched out the idea that either Hypnoshark would continue to be the host for every season,
Mm-hmm.
or we'd look at using competitors to become the host. And I think, yeah, we decided, well, Kieran, obviously his decision as the person who runs the show, decided that I'd make a decent host and we could have the tradition of winners potentially going on to host the show. So potentially, you're looking in good stead to maybe the season 3 host as it stands.
Oh, actually, I didn't ponder that until now. That would be sick.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's going to continue it or he's going to maybe ask me to continue on again or just find somebody new, but there is a chance that you might get that invitation.
Now,
You are
those are
currently
kind
the front
of big shoes to fill. How have you felt like the comparison of being a competitor to being the host?
I like it because when you're doing it as the competitor, you're sort of watching back and comparing yourself against other people and almost cringing at how the bad mistakes you made or how stupid you are in these moments. Especially in season 1, where it was a lot rougher of a show. It's definitely been polished a lot more into season 2. So being able to go on the other side of it and just enjoying yourself, laughing at other people and bantering with the competitors has definitely been really enjoyable. I've really enjoyed hosting it. I've had good fun.
I've been so anxious on some of these, like, and enough time passes that I've kind of forgotten what I did for some tasks. That like it comes back, I'm like, oh god, oh no, and then it's actually received well. People are laughing. I'm like, okay, it's not as bad. But man, I was so anxious even recording. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Oh, please no.
Yeah, I definitely remember some tasks. Like in the season 1 task, we had the film a scene from a movie in like a video game, and you never know how that's going to come out because you go into it, you have these bright ideas. I'm going to build this, I'm going to do this. You actually have a 15-minute time limit. And it's like I don't even know the words to this scene. So you're googling the scene. You're trying to find a spot to do it in the game. You got 5 minutes left to perform the scene. And it's like panicking, like oh my god.
Oh no.
So you have all these bright ideas, and suddenly it's just rushing it out there, and like you feel horrible doing it because you just feel cringy trying to play both sides of a scene, and it's like, how will the scene be received? But no, I thought, yeah, it's always at the end of the day, it's all just a bit of fun, isn't it? And you got to look back.
Oh, for sure.
If you can't laugh at yourself, like what are you doing a lot of the time? So
Now it's almost kind of a shame. The first series, it's not like all available and episodic, kind of like how the second one is. And I wish I could go back and watch everything. I've just seen like the one highlight video that I think is on Hypno's channel.
yeah, I do remember asking Kieran if he had sort of the footage for that and if he was going to be putting it up on YouTube at the time. I think the plan was to release it all on Hypno's YouTube, but it just never got around to happening, unfortunately. He's definitely got them because he was replaying them throughout the build up to season 2. So Kieran's definitely got season 1 somewhere on his hard drive, maybe. So hopefully we can convince him to put that up there on YouTube.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I said something to him at one point. He's like, yeah, it wasn't really my thing at the time. It was kind of Hypno's thing. So that's or at least the first one was upload on his thing because I couldn't even find it like through the find feature and stuff like that. But yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to just get the whole sort of running series on there, so that when season 3, if it happens, and 4 onwards, maybe just have that sort of evolution of the show visible on one platform.
And sometime, hey, hopefully before 2022, we have our finale. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, definitely been a bit of scheduling issues with that one, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Now, kind of the concept of this whole show, which I don't know if I even really told you what this is. I've done like 12 or 13 of them now, but it's good to know the lives of the speedrunners, kind of who they are as once you end stream and stuff like that. So, like to get that whole story, see how people developed, where you get to where you're at. So, how old are you first off?
I'm 27.
And where are you from?
I'm from England, if you can't tell by the accent.
It is a little easy to tell, but
Yeah, I'm from a town or city in the sort of East Midlands of England, so I'm very central. I'm very generic accented, I think.
have you pretty much, do you live like where you grew up and stuff like that? Have you moved across the country at least, or?
I actually spent a large portion of my life with my home address, per se, in Germany.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I grew up in a military family, so I was moving around every
Okay.
2-3 years, and we spent a large majority of my time, my parents' time in Germany.
I've always kind of wondered what that would be like. Is it like, do you think of it fondly, or you're like, yeah, that kind of sucked?
There's bits. I mean, obviously, I never experienced the other side of it, so it's hard to have that direct comparison. You can speak to other people, and it's like, yes, it would have been very nice growing up in the same place with the same friends as you get older.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, they're also very sheltered in some ways. Like I experienced a lot more of the world and different cultures. Finding out what it's like to live in a country where you don't speak the native language is, I think, just a general very good life lesson and natural adaptability. So I definitely don't begrudge growing up like that, but there are definitely things I feel like I missed out on. It was a lot harder to form like long-term relationships because I don't know people for long enough to form them.
Yeah.
Which growing up is definitely very difficult. It sort of grows into the whole, now I'm a Twitch streamer because I don't have any real life friends. Not quite true, but it's that you had that disconnect from people in real life because you weren't around them long enough. So yeah, I think it's definitely developed me into the person I am in a big way. But not knowing how it would have been any other way, I don't think I would change it because I am quite content where I am, and if I'd gone another way, who knows where I'd be. So
yeah, that's true. I just moved a lot, so I can kind of resonate with some of the stuff you're saying. I wasn't a military kid like that, so that's a whole nother element, I think. But it is weird, definitely weird to just kind of have to uproot and start life all over again.
Yeah, but there's also the sort of the rare opportunity when you do move away, and then we did move back to some of the same places, and every now and again you'd run into somebody you knew like 4 years ago.
Oh, hey,
because yeah, exactly. A lot of the time there's only so many people in the jobs in the military, so when you're moving around, other families are going to be in the same situation as you. And there was a few instances where like I'd know somebody when I was 7, and then we'd move somewhere when I'm like 10 years old, and it's like, oh, we've run into these people in a random city we've never been to before, and it's like old friends. So you always have those nice little moments as well. It wasn't always every time uprooting and knowing nobody, because there was only so many of you doing it. You're always going to run into somebody eventually. Yes, you had that nice experience sometimes.
Now I take it you didn't want to follow in the footsteps. You weren't a military guy yourself.
No, I very early on. So a lot of kids, like to grow up, dreaming of the military and that whole cool action man, army guy kind of thing.
Sure.
It was never for me. Like I just had zero interest. I think I caught on very early that it's not very glamorous. It's not the nicest thing in the world to be doing. And I was like, I don't really want to do this. Like it could potentially be there as a last backup, but I don't want to be looking at it as a ideal future career.
Yeah, the whole idea of idolizing it seems crazy to me. And I think a lot of people are kind of shifting in that mindset for sure. Well, obviously U.S. nationalism is very different as well, but
yeah, I think it's probably a little bit. Yeah, it's probably a little bit more extreme for you guys. I think your military definitely idolized a bit more than ours. But there is still that mentality of a lot of soldiers' kids grow up in the lifestyle, so they go on to be soldiers. And yeah, it's not a path I wanted to follow.
So what did you wind up doing like after primary school?
So after I left primary school, I went into boarding school when I was 13.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I was in boarding school for the best part of 5 years, which was the first time I was actually able to put down some form of roots. But then at the same time, it was all away from my family. So what would have been our year 8, which is ages 12 to 13.
Yeah.
When I moved schools, I skipped that grade. So
Really?
instantly, I was instantly put without going into too much boastfulness, I was grading higher than people around me. So it was
Okay.
considered, rather than stick you into a year where there aren't any major exams, you're basically just going to be messing around for a year waiting to do something serious. When you're spending money to go to school, it was like, why not just put him straight up into the next year group?
Yeah, why not? Why waste time?
We can sort of fast track his development and get him moving on a bit faster. I was definitely appreciative of that opportunity, but it stuck me in another situation where I was moving into a lot of people that had grown up each other for the last 2 years, and now I'm the black sheep because I'm a year younger than everybody else. And my attitude probably didn't help this as well at the time, because obviously in that situation, you give that to a 13-year-old kid. Hey, you're moving up because you're deemed smarter than everybody else. Arrogance is going to play a part of it. I already had that as a natural streak in me at that time. And then suddenly you got this arrogant little kid rocking up into a classroom full of friends, and it's like, who's this new guy who naturally now thinks he's better than everybody? So it didn't help my first year in boarding school. I felt very odd one out. Again, moving into school, I didn't know anybody, but that's something I dealt with before. But now I had that extra stigma of, this is the kid that's been moved up a year. He's supposed to be something special. And to be honest, I thought it was at the time, but I really wasn't that special. I was probably a little bit above average, but I just played it very well. I gave that attitude, and everyone just looked around me and went, oh, he is something special. But I think I just played the role of someone special quite well.
The idea of a boarding school, I can't tell if I would love it or hate it. Like, it seems so strange to just like, I'm going to go live there now. But you're also like fully immersed, kind of be like being independent earlier, but I don't know.
Yeah, so it was actually originally my idea. I still recall a memory of being about 10 years old in one of my bedrooms in Germany. I think I'd got tired of moving around every time, getting stuck in a school where I was, especially at that age when it was less focused on actual education, I was above everybody else. Things came more naturally to me. I was always in top of classes. I was put in like advanced placement classes, and it was like, I'm just stagnating. Even at like that age, I was realizing I'm stagnating here. I need to go somewhere where I'm going to be tested. So I can recall, being about 9 or 10 years old, sat on my bedroom floor, crying with my parents, saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go to boarding school. At that time, they weren't in a financial situation to provide it, which is a lot of people's situation. Fortunately, we found out a few years later the military will subsidize some of that if it was requested.
Hey, that's cool.
I ended up getting in that position purely because the military did pay for a lot of it. And then, about a few years later, I did manage to get in a position, but at first I hated it. I really did.
I'm guessing you're pot committed. Once you're there, it's not like, I want to go back.
It was one of those as well, yeah. Like, I've almost pressured my parents into putting me in this situation because I wanted to do it. And I did see the benefits of being there over being in standard public school. But at the same time, I was, a 13-year-old kid, moved away from home, surrounded by people I didn't know. It was a very hard situation to grasp. And like, everyone gets bullied every now and again at school, but when you're in public school, you go home, you have your group of friends, you sort of manage to deal with it. When you're in a foreign environment surrounded by people you don't know without that support network, it was very difficult to deal with those first few months. Fortunately, my parents were still in England at the time, so they were only 2.5 hours down the road, which might not seem a lot in America, but that's quite a bit of distance in England, being such a small country. So they were able to visit me every now and again when things got bad. I think after I got through that first year, I'd adapted to the situation a bit better, and I sort of fitting in a bit more, and it was less of that, who's this new kid who's now skipped a year. It was more just who I am. Like, they got to know me. I was part of the sports teams now. I fit in more, so it was a lot easier for me after that.
I have this, and I can't say why. It's a dumb where my brain is going, but I'm like, my picture of it and everything that you're talking about, I'm like, so it's like Harry Potter where they just all live together in like a big circle room. Is that what it's really like, or do you get like your own room and you just kind of?
My first year there, I shared a room with 4 other boys.
4 others?
So there were 5 of us.
Oh, that's too much young testosterone.
Aging between 12 and 14. 5 of us in one room. because we were the youngest, sort of, they usually had rooms reserved. Like the youngest boys would all stay together.
Mm-hmm.
The older you get, you start moving into your own room. So yeah, mine was the biggest room. There was 5 of us, I think, in there.
Oh my god.
Yeah, which was, and we were on the bottom floor as well. So we were just harassed by everybody coming past, all the noises. We were right next to the shower. It's like early in the morning, people queuing outside our bedroom waiting to go to the showers. So yeah, it wasn't the best room to be in.
It's an experience, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely a learning curve. Like my house when I was at university had 5 people in, let alone my bedroom. So that's the biggest environment I'd ever actually lived in for a long period of time, and I was there for about 5-6 months. Yeah,
I
definitely.
guess after you finish that, have you ever moved in with family again, or have you kind of just been doing your own thing ever since then?
No, I did move back in after university. I went home. So I stayed out. So I went to university in England. I did my degree in chemical engineering.
That's
yeah,
big.
We'll get to that. But yeah, so I did that. And then I did go home back to Germany for a few years with my parents. I started working as a private contractor for the military. So I didn't join the army, but I was working for them. Yeah. So the money without the actual having to be a soldier, which was quite nice. And living tax-free, because we do live tax-free over there. So it was a beneficial few years for me. Good experience.
So I mean, I can't ignore it now. How the heck did you become a chemical engineer? Why? What?
So as I said, obviously I skipped a year at school, so I was a bit young when we were putting our placements. I was about not even 16 when I moved into our final 2 years, which is when we do our final exams and decide if we want to go to university and what we want to do. So this is the point where they started putting the decision on you. What do you want to do with the rest of your life? I was 15. I had no idea.
Why would anyone?
Yeah, because how can you? So I chose the subjects I was good at. I was good at the sciences. I was good at maths, and I enjoyed drama. So I did, for my A levels, we usually do between 3 as a standard, 5 as the maximum for most people, and I did 5 of them. I did maths, chemistry, physics, biology, and drama in my first year.
You're like an improv kid?
I was a bit, yeah. I enjoyed just generally acting and all that, but it wasn't the best fit for me because drama at that point starts becoming about your on-stage work and more about how you plan things out and all stage lighting and stuff that I wasn't very good at.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted it for the fun, and it turned out not to be the fun thing I wanted to do, but it was still a good experience. So I went through them, and that sort of sets up a baseline of, right, this limits your choices now. You can only go into courses where these subjects will get you into. So I moved into my final year at 16. They gave us one of those aptitude tests where I'm sure you guys do them quite a lot coming into your final years, where you do, what do you enjoy, what do you get at, yada yada, what job does it set you up for. Most people were fortunate in that it gave them 1 or 2 options they scored very highly on. I think I scored 100% in 9 different things.
Oh, wow.
And not all the same. It wasn't like, oh, you'd be a really good chemist or a really good chemical engineer. It was stuff like sports psychiatrist and stuff like that. I was like, this is really useful, thanks. You've confused my 16-year-old brain even more with what I want to do for the rest of my future.
I weirdly enough, I took something that was supposed to be like that, and I really did it just so I could skip out on a class, because it's like a 2-hour test or whatever. And then it gives you like a bunch of numbers, but it doesn't actually place you anywhere. And I later found out that it's actually just an entry exam to see like what kind of jobs you qualify for in the military. I'm like, oh, that's really not helpful, but thanks.
No, that's a bit of a waste of time. Basically I'd done this test, and it was like, and these are the things you'd be good at. Like, I don't know what I want to do. I'm too young to make that decision. So I was like, I went and spoke to the only people that I had around me that could help me with the decision, my teachers. And a lot of the advice I was getting is, you're excelling in chemistry, you're excelling in maths, and there's a lot of money in chemical engineering. So why don't you go do chemical engineering? Without really researching what it was, I took their advice and went, these people know what they're talking about. Their job is to mold children. I'm a child, and I'm making a big decision. So their advice is probably the best one. And so, I applied to university to be chemical engineering, and I hated it. I hated every minute of it.
Really?
Not quite every minute of it, but I hated a lot of it because it had been sold to me as doing a lot of maths, a lot of chemistry, things I really did enjoy, things I was good at. And I ended up doing endless amounts of physics, things I could do, but I did not enjoy doing. It was like it wasn't a foreign concept, but it was just not an enjoyable one for me. So I tried to leave towards the end, but I got convinced to stick it out. You're paying all this money anyway, you might as well go get your degree. So I stuck it out. I did my degree.
Wow.
Left, and
but
then
you knew you hated it. That's insane.
And vowed never to do it again. Like I was never going to go into this profession because I couldn't see myself with any shot doing it for the rest of my life without just becoming miserable.
I mean, you hear all the time like, "Oh, this degree is useless," but in that case, that degree is useless.
Yeah, like it's one of those people go and get degrees in gardening or something like that, and at least there is some kind of path they can take with that because you obviously enjoyed it. If you went to do some of that and finished it, I just went and finished it because I was supposed to finish it. Like I was always brought up as none of my family had ever gone to university. No one had a degree when I was applying, so it was like you're going to be the first. So it was that sort of weight on me that I can't.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of societal pressure for sure.
Yeah, and this is also sort of the time when everything, like that final year, everything was sort of stacking up on me as well. Like all that weight of expectation I'd held for so many years, always being marginalized as the smart kid, as the one that's going to do something with his life, all suddenly fell very, very heavily on me because I was realizing I'm now wasting my time. And I'm quite openly admit that I was very, very depressed at the time. I was I was going to see a psychiatrist for like 6 months. I was not in a good way, and I needed that to get me through the end of my degree, because without that sort of help, I would have just collapsed and I would have just disappeared. I think I'd have just left and probably gone off the map for a few months, just trying to rediscover who I'm supposed to be. So I was quite thankful to get that help, but at the same time, it was a situation that was pressed on me that I'm still, I wouldn't say resentful, but not happy that I was pushed into.
Yeah. It's interesting seeing, because I only know the current you, so here in the past you, I'm seeing, the puzzle pieces, but not all connected. In life, I feel like seldom has good stories, but you seem pretty okay now. Is your mental and stuff improved over time?
Yeah, I mean, like most people nowadays, I still have the odd bout with depression. Like the state the world's in, it's just bound to happen to our generation. It's the unfortunate way that we are living in that time. But I have a definite better grip of who I am and what I am, where I want to be nowadays.
That's not easy.
It's definitely not easy. I think speedrunning and streaming definitely have a massive help on it. That it's a fun, positive outlet for me. That I know I'm going to be chilling, doing something I enjoy with people I like. I'm surrounded by a community of people that I know accept me for who I am, and that's I think a massive part of. I know that if I'm ever a bit down, I can just go stick on like a 10-hour stream and just play games for 10 hours, and people will be there, and I'll feel happier. So I have that sort of, I don't know, support network. I'd say now that when things do get maybe a little bit down, that there's something there that can bring me back up. So it's, yeah, I'm definitely in a much better place than I was, say, 7 years ago. Which is, yeah, nice.
It's actually, I don't really tell any of my real life friends, or especially not family, about streaming and all that kind of stuff, because it's just been a very therapeutic, like, safe space for me, and I get to just vent out whatever. And I very much liked it for the same aspect, for sure.
Yeah. I definitely get that. Like my parents are aware that I do it, but I didn't tell them. They found out from my cousin, who's probably the only family member I have.
Oh no, they're spoiled.
I didn't mind them knowing. Like, I wasn't hiding it from them. It was just like it was a part of my life that I didn't feel they needed to know about. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Wasn't something they're going to be interested in. They just more ended up being curious. But my cousin, who's a big fan of the game I play, Sonic Adventure 2, so he was watching me every now and again because it's supporting family in a game he loves. So, so he's the only one that really ever watches and knows about it. But word has spread a little bit to other members that I do it, but not in a bad way.
For people that aren't like involved, I feel like it's just such a strange concept. But like once you do it, once you know people that do it, it's like, oh yeah, of course. Maybe that's just my boomer brain. I don't know.
Well, so my colleagues at work know that I stream.
Oh yeah.
One of them asked me one time, so what do you do? And I went, oh, I'm a speedrunner. I do speedruns. And she didn't quite grasp what I meant, because she told me, I think, yesterday. So her half sister, who she lives with, is big into watching Twitch and video games, and she mentioned it to her that I have a colleague who plays speedrun. That was the word she used. And her half sister just sort of laughed and went, "What?" And it's like, yeah, he plays speedrun, I think, on Twitch. She's like, "You mean he speed runs?" So it just shows you that sort of, people that aren't quite in our little window of reality don't quite fully understand what's going on. Yeah, she legitimately thought speedrun was a game that I played.
That's awesome.
Which I found that very amusing. I couldn't help but just sort of chuckle at her.
Obviously, I mean, it seems like we've got baby Einstein, you're playing sports, a little bit of an ego. How did you kind of start becoming, well, someone that plays video games? I feel like with a schedule like that, I can't imagine you're just like, yeah, I had a GameCube with me the whole time too.
No, I didn't. So while I was at school, I didn't actually have. The only console I had with me when I was at school was my DS at the time, and I pretty much only played Pokemon on my own. So I've always grown up being a massive Pokemon fan, and I've always had a console at home. So I had a PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and I played them a lot when I come home from school. But at the same time, I'd be going out, like doing sports. I was part of, football or soccer team, stuff like that. So I was never a big gamer as a kid. Other than Pokemon, I'd say I spent maybe 10 hours a week playing. So definitely not a lot for a child video gamer.
Yeah, for sure.
It was definitely, I became more involved sort of as I was entering my teenage years, because people at my school would bring like their Xbox to school with them. They'd have a TV in their bedroom with an Xbox, and I'd often go up and just play Halo and FIFA with them, and Call of Duty. There were 3 games pretty much the only games we'd really play. So even still, I was very much not a speedrunner mentality at that time. I was just basically playing multiplayer games, and even then not in any form of competitiveness. It was just friends messing around. I'd quite often come second. I very rarely won any matches.
Really?
We'd usually play like 3 or 4 of us in like Halo, and I'd quite regularly be the second place person, something like that, or in Call of Duty, second place.
Were you competitive about it, or you're just like, yeah, that's just how it goes?
It was always that, 14, 15-year-olds competing each other. There was always that competitive banter. It never got serious, but there was always that edge to it, that it wasn't a friendly game as such.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I always stand by the fact that it was because he owned the console that he always won, so he was practicing doing the story modes and all that. So if I'd been practicing, I would have beaten him, I'm sure. I stand by that. I stand by that fact today. But no, so I didn't really get into gaming as such. I'd still say I'm probably not a massive gamer. Like, it wasn't until I got a PlayStation 4 that I really started committing myself back to playing games regularly.
Yeah.
And that was purely because I'm a collection addict, and since I never owned a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox 360 myself, so I'd never experienced games with that trophies or achievements collection system. So when I started getting games on PlayStation 4, that was a new thing to me. It was like, I must collect
I can
every
finish
trophy.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, now it's not just a percentage counter. There are physical little rewards that are going to pop on my screen when I do things. I think that's probably when I became much more of a gamer. And I'd play a lot more sort of RPGs and sort of that type of game, open world, ones where I could just go around, complete quests and get achievements and progress through stories. And that's where I definitely caught the gaming bug. It was then I started realizing that I enjoy completion of things. So yeah, that's really where I was probably, about 20 or so, 21 maybe, when I really started actually considering myself a gamer and not just somebody that casually enjoys a game every now and again.
Now, just speaking of collection, and I'd be crazy not to bring it up, you have quite the collection of things behind you. What all do we got going on? Is it, I see maybe a little bit of Pokemon.
See, I have probably approaching over 90 pop dolls now at this point.
90 of them, dang.
Yeah, so I got most of them at one time. So again, my cousin, the same one that plays SA2, he had a small collection of them, maybe 10, 15. I got on his house and thought, oh, they're quite cool. And massive collector things, or even decorator. I never had any posters in my room growing up, or anything like that. Mainly because that whole moving around every 2 years, I just couldn't be bothered. And I sort of hit adulthood and went, I was over in Germany, I was making good money, living tax-free, and I was like, I have expendable income now. Now is the time when I can maybe indulge in that collecting. So I originally got like 30 of them just in one go online, and I was like, I quite like these.
Yeah.
I just had a little bookcase in my room that was just stacked full of them.
Do you keep all of them boxed, by the way?
Yeah, I don't open any of them. Not because of the value or anything. I just like the way they fit in together nicely.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I know if they were opened up, they would not be in this display on my.
It's very aesthetic. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit mix and match because I've knocked them over enough times that I can't always bother to stand them back up. And they were all perfectly sort of organized into little categories. Like I've got loads of Dragon Ball Z ones, quite a few Pokemon ones, stuff from. I usually just get stuff from like TV shows I enjoyed, like movies. Like I've got Game of Thrones ones in there. I got a few Marvel ones. Just sort of anything that I consider having some form of connection to.
Yeah.
Like Dragon Ball Z was one of the very few animes I've ever watched in my life. The one I've watched all the way through, and it formed a sort of connection with it because it was a big part. So I was like, I just got some of my favorite characters. Cell is my favorite villain, so yeah. I got to say the Cell saga. Although Frieza is also a very brilliant saga. I'm definitely a big Dragon Ball Z stan over the original. And although I have enjoyed Super, and I don't really talk about the other attempt at a continuation.
What other attempt? I don't know what you're talking about, actually.
See, I definitely have more Dragon Ball ones or anything. I must have like 15, 20 Dragon Ball ones. I bought one at the weekend. We went away for like a gamer meetup in Leicester, which is a city just an hour or so north from me. We were walking around shops, and I saw a couple more, and I bought another Dragon Ball one that I didn't have, which was a Super Saiyan Goku doing a Kamehameha, and an Obelisk the Tormentor from Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is another show I watched a lot growing up.
Mm-hmm. Now, both of these happen to have a bridge series. Have you watched all of those? Or
I have watched both of the abridged series, yes.
They're so dumb, but I did like them a lot.
Yeah, I definitely say I prefer the Dragon Ball Z abridged one. I think it just fits the characters a bit better for the abridged than. And the Yu-Gi-Oh! One got a little bit repetitive when it's it's just a stupid card game at the end of the day. But the Dragon Ball one always has sort of merging characters in a developmental stage, so I think it worked out. I've watched that multiple times. I'd almost say I prefer it over the original series at this point, because it's just got so many classic running gags in them that I can't help but love. So yeah, definitely a big fan of the original ones.
And something else I spot in the collection. So to your bottom right, left on camera side, is that a vodka and Red Bull?
I will get this. This is something that's not really been shown on stream before. I will grab it for you.
Ooh, an exclusive?
So it's not quite a fridge, and this will branch out into what I do in my day-to-day life. So it's actually a poster or like a sign from a bar.
It's like a bar sign, yeah.
Yeah. So actually quite a good way to bridge into what I do in my day-to-day life. So
perfect.
I work for an events and festival company.
Oh, that sounds kind of sick.
It is. So we staff events and festivals all around England. The occasional one overseas, but mostly England-based. We do like the traffic and the litter and everything there. And I work in our head office, so in like recruitment and all that sort of thing. And that's just a souvenir I picked up from a show I did a month or so ago. I went there we were doing like the last day of cleaning, getting all the rubbish out of the site.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd been like raining heavily the entire week, and like the place was destroyed. And I didn't enjoy the experience. There's pictures of me like knee deep in water. The shoes I had on that day. The shoes I had on that day, I'd only owned them for about a month. They were in the bin the second I got home because they just destroyed. Luckily, they weren't very expensive ones. That's why I wore them for festivals. Yeah, I decided I quite liked the look of that little bar poster. So I thought they had about 6 or 7 of them, but that was the cleanest one they had, and I'm taking that home because I liked it. And so people can see just how overpriced festivals are. I don't know if you could see it when I held it up.
For sure. It was like
a single vodka Red Bull, £9.50, which must be what, $13, $14?
Yeah, too much.
Yeah, so that is the life we have to live, surrounded by these massively overpriced prices.
I'm definitely a ball on a budget kind of guy, so I have a solid pre-game before anything like that.
Well, quite fortunately, being staff, we were able to get in a few things that other people often aren't.
Nice.
So, like most festivals over here, I'm sure it's probably similar in America, have glass as an outlaw thing. You can't bring them onto the sites.
Yeah.
But being as we get there like a week before security do, we tend to have a lot of our own glass bottles on site, so we end up drinking a lot cheaper than people at the festivals do.
Luckily, nobody's going to hear this that goes or watches the soccer games in my local area. I've been so thankful. I just happen to know someone that is like the president of the supporters group, and shout out to Mr. White. But we stand right next to like all the drum corps and stuff like that, and they have a big old cooler, and after like every game it's like, oh, beers, and there's a whole bunch of beers and water and stuff in the cooler. Like, yeah, I would rather not pay $10 for a beer. That sounds great, thank you.
Yeah,
but
definitely
how the heck did you get into that?
It goes back to my final year at university. So I found this job about 2 years too late, to be honest. So it was my final year of university, so in that final summer I had off. It turns out my uncle, who I'd go and stay with throughout my summers a lot of the time, because I couldn't be bothered to fly back to Germany for every holiday. So I'd come back. So he lived pretty much like 5 minutes away from where I live now, or lived. I'd go around his house, and then I'm not going to go into some of the details because there may be some explicit details I can't go into live on podcast. But basically, the manager of this company would come around to this house fairly regularly. And it was only introduced to me in my final year at university that, oh, by the way, this guy runs festivals or like does staffing for festivals. I was like, oh, like which ones? So expecting like, small local ones. He was like, oh no, like Glastonbury and Leeds and, the biggest festivals in England.
Oh.
I was like, oh. He was like, yeah, you come, you work 2 weeks, you make £1,000. I was like, I'm a student at this point. I have no money. Like £1,000 in 2 weeks is a lot of money. And I was like, yeah, sounds good. Sign me up. And pretty much there on the spot, it was like, okay, you're basically now my bitch for the summer. You're going to every event I want you to go to. I was like, okay. It was like, you'll make about $3.5-4 grand in the summer. And I was like, yeah, sounds good to me. And he's like, you get a free ticket every time you come to festival. I was like, I'm not really seeing a downside to this.
What's
Yeah, so my first ever festival was Glastonbury in 2014. So 250,000 people.
Is that a big music festival?
It's the biggest one we have in Europe.
Do you remember who you saw like your first time?
So the first artist I ever saw at a festival was Paolo Antini, who was like the second or third act on the second stage there. He's a Scottish singer, so I don't know how big he ever hit America. Probably didn't.
Right over my head. I don't know about them, but hey.
So they were the first ones I ever saw at a festival, and the first headliners I saw were the Kaiser Chiefs.
Oh, I know that name. Yeah,
you might have heard that one. I don't know how big they are. I don't even know. I think they're English, so they might not be as big over there as they are here. But they were quite big, sort of in the late 2000s.
I did a quick little Google. Was it I Predict a Riot?
Yeah.
I know that song.
Yeah, Ruby. They had a couple of big songs. So they're the first headliners I ever saw. And yeah, I went there and I had an amazing time. Like I was doing a really easy job. Like my job was counting people as they came through a gate. But only people coming through with like wide loads because they have an automatic counter for everyone who goes in through the normal lanes.
Yeah.
So I basically like counting a few thousand people a day on a clicking button. So it was nothing. It was easy. I just basically sat there and clicked this button all day with a colleague who was doing one was doing the in, one was doing the out. So it was like a day of one of the easiest shifts in the world at one of the biggest musical festivals in the world. And it's like, right, your shift is done. Enjoy yourself. We'll see you in the morning.
Nice.
And it was, yeah. So instantly there I got the bug. And yeah, I filled up my whole summer then with it. I did the whole next summer. That's when I went back to Germany. So I missed like 3 or 4 years of full seasons. But I enjoyed it so much that during my holidays, I wouldn't go abroad. I wouldn't, go on a lad strip and all that. I would come back to England and I'd work 2 or 3 festivals. So during that period, I basically worked flat out for about 2 years, 3 years, because my holidays were coming back to England to work. But I enjoyed it so much that that's what I wanted to do. Then I moved back to England in 2019 to continue up doing the same sort of thing. And this year I became like a full-time actual employee for the company rather than just doing the seasonal stuff. Oh,
nice.
So yeah, I've been working on getting this full-time job for about 4 years now, but there's always a circumstance that prevented me from getting it. It was like, oh, we're going to move you into this role. I was like, I'm moving back to Germany. And it was like, okay, I'm coming back. I can move into this role. And it's like, the person that you were going to recover for or take over for has decided they're not retiring, so they're going to be around a little longer. So every time I was about to move, or we didn't realize you were coming back this time. We've just hired somebody to do the job we would have asked you to do. So it was like every single time I got so close, it was like and yeah, then
Maybe
I was literally like 2 weeks from stepping into the job, and then the pandemic lockdown hit, and they were like,
"Oh yeah."
It was like, we're an events and festivals company. We're not going to be working. I'm sorry, we can't offer you a full-time job. I was just like, every single time I got a little bit closer, something stupid would happen, to the point where the world decided to create a massive virus that I couldn't have this job.
That's kind of what I was wondering, because I mean, obviously you're working now. I was like, what are you doing if there's no festivals?
Yeah, so that whole period they were just like closed down for like basically a whole year. So fortunately, like they opened up, allowing us to do festivals in this country. Since about May, June, they had small ones running, and then big ones were under sort of COVID regulations, been running since the start of July. So we are now back to very much full-time operation. So I have that full-time availability now, but only going to big shows. So I spend most of my time in the office, although I do get sent out into the field every now and again. But yeah, I'm now finally in the office doing what I mainly want to do. I mean, I'm planning to move into our payroll and then accounts area, because since leaving university, that's what I've decided I wanted to do as a career. Was I always had an interest in money and numbers, obviously good at maths, enjoyed it. So accountancy was in the next sort of target area I went into. I did my original qualifications when I was in Germany, through the army, again, paying for that. And now I might finally be in a position where a qualification I've gained over my 27 years might be coming into use sometime next year.
Nice.
It's only taken this long, but yeah, qualification I got might finally be useful.
You know, I would never have guessed like pretty much any of this. Which, you know, you never judge a book by the cover, but I don't know. It just doesn't allow, like, I don't picture, you know, giant science guy and turn pretty much bar party guy and now accountant.
Yeah, I think with coloured hair, the general on a relaxed demeanor, often painted nails. I don't always portray, you know, serious industry professional. But even though that's the job I'm looking at, I don't consider myself to be that person. Like you hear about somebody, oh, this boring accountant, all he does is, you know, goes home every night and then plays golf for the weekend. That's never the person I'm going to be. Like, I'm interested in that industry, but I'm too vibrant to be that character naturally. I think.
Yeah.
I like to stand out. I like the coloured hair. I like the nails. I like people to look and go, oh, he's a bit different, because I am different, and I don't want to hide from that fact.
I think it's cool that it seems like you kind of put in the time too, that you're respected as an individual, instead of like, or I think if you show up to a normal accounting interview or whatever, and you are this vibrant person, they're like, oh, I don't know, he might be a wild card or something like that. I just think it's very bland of an industry idea.
Yeah, it is. I think it is very much, you know, white-collared, shaven, short hair, suit kind of industry. But because I've known these people for so long, like, they know who I am and not to judge me on just what I look like. So I'm quite fortunate in that perspective.
How long have you had the dyed hair now, by the way? Which I love it. I'm kind of jealous.
Like, the first time I ever dyed my hair, I was 12. I bleached it. Just before I went to boarding school. They got in a lot of trouble because they had a very strict uniform policy. Basically, they threatened to shave my head unless I cut it back.
No way.
Yeah, that was how strict they were. And
They
I was
can
on
do
the phone to
that?
a parent. They can, because, I mean, they will do. Whether they can or not, they would have done it. And I was on my phone to the parents, like, they're threatening to shave my head. Like, I've just had it bleached. Like, it was bleached blonde. Like, I look like a small M&M.
And that's not even like a abnormal color. It's still like, I mean, blonde is a natural color.
Yeah. I mean, it was unnaturally blonde, I'll admit. But
yeah,
it was still, it was a bit of an exaggeration.
Not like
there,
a blue,
like,
purple, green kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah. So I got called into our deputy head basically to go and talk to her and be like, all right, what's the plan to get rid of your hair color? And my parents, I was on the phone to them in the morning, they were like, well, you don't want to shave it. We don't want you to have your hair shaved. So they and they were like, we don't have any dye for you. Like, we're 2 odd hours away. So they had me crack open a felt pen, like a dark brown felt pen, and rub it into my hair. So when I went into the office, she was like, "Oh, it looks like you've sorted out your hair problem," because it was just like a light brown. It was disgusting, but I got away with it. But yeah, that was how I first got away with having dyed hair when I was 30 years old at the time. So then I sort of realized at that point I can't be dyeing my hair at school because I won't get away with it. But every time I'd go home in the summer for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, I still bleach my hair, and knowing that it'd mostly be gone by the time I get home. So I pretty much never stopped the trend. And then I got to 16, still at school, and got a little bit rebellious, and I dyed my fringe purple. And got away with it for a very long time as well. Like, I never actually had to get rid of the color. I think the school had gotten to know me as a bit of a, almost like a wild card, a bit of an out there person. But I did have classes with my deputy head, who was the strict administrator. She was the one that held the rules. So she was my biology teacher for like my second to last year there when I had this hair color. So it was just my fringe, like just that part there was just purple. And I spent my entirety of the classes with her like that. So every week I'd go into that class and I'd have my hand over the coloured bit, just like that. I got away with this 4 weeks. Like literally, it was a long time. Like a lot of the other teachers at this point didn't care. They knew who I was, but she was the one that if anybody was going to have a problem with it, it was going to be her. And it had been about, it must have been about 4 or 5 weeks I got away with it. Like the colour was starting to fade. It was fine. And then one of my classmates pipes up, "Oh, miss, have you seen his hair?"
Snitch.
I'm just sat there like, really? Like, I'd gotten away with it for so long, I was going to be fine. And she was like, "Move your hand." I was like, she was like, and she's just like, "You have to get rid of it." I was like, "It's nearly gone. Like, it's been like 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, just relax. One more week.
I ended up getting away with not having to deal with it at all. She was like, "Okay, it's fine. It's nearly gone now. You got away with this long. Like, fair enough." What I didn't know when I did it, but I'd have to adapt to it because I only wanted the fringe then. I dyed it like that, where I patted it down over my hair. And my hair was probably about this length, to be honest, and it had dyed my eyebrow.
Nuh-uh.
so not only did I have a purple fringe, I had one purple eyebrow. That was,
and again, no dye there. Like,
yeah, like, fortunately, because it's a naturally darker bit of hair anyway, it didn't come out vibrant purple. But yeah, I did have a dark purple eyebrow for about 8 weeks before that color faded. So
that's nuts. I once I was like 16, maybe 15, and it's the retirement of my long hair. But my dad was out of town. I was chilling with some friends, and a girl was like, "Oh, we should dye it like a little bit red." I'm like, "That sounds badass. Let's do it." And I did. And because I had super light blonde hair at the time, it came out kind of pink.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind it. I just kind of let it be. And it was fairly subtle. But like my dad came home, he somehow didn't see it for like 3 or 4 days. It was like, "Is your hair pink?" Like, "It's red." And sadly, he's like, "Yeah, you gotta cut it." And
that's gotta go. Yeah.
In hindsight, I look much better with shorter hair, in my opinion, but it felt so bad at the time. It was like the haircut of shame too. I'm pissed about it, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
there's nothing worse than a big haircut you don't want, like when it's not your choice, like your hair is being cut. You don't have any say in the matter.
I've been thinking about it for a while again too, because one of my good friends here has like he always does his hair color and stuff. I'm like, this looks good, and now that I have the freedom to do it, I'm like, do I want to? But I don't know. It's hard to commit to something like that.
You might find it not addicting, but you might just like the change. I very much now I do it because I get bored of my own natural hair color.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And because you're so often seeing yourself with colored hair, it's like, this is what it can be. This is how fun it can be. So yeah, be careful if you do start doing it. You might fall into that trap of, I don't want to go back to being blonde anymore. Like, I want to be purple. I want to be red. I want to be green. I just sort of every few weeks just wanted to change it up.
Today's not necessarily a good day since it's laundry day. I'm just wearing gray, whatever was around. But yeah, I tend to like color, so it also matches my usual outfits and stuff like that. I'm like, I can wear whatever color I want, and I match. It's perfect. So, add one more piece in. It might be an idea.
I can see it.
You're selling me on it, damn it.
Yeah, I would definitely see it. I think you should rock up to the finale with colored hair. I might give you a bonus point.
Oh. All right, I'm in. By December,
Sold.
we'll figure it out.
By 2023, he might have died.
2023, perfect. Now, I guess this is kind of technically a Speedrunners podcast, so it would be a shame not to ask, how did you wind up running Sonic 2 then? If you were like a Pokemon kid and then you went off to be a busy adult?
So I discovered speedrunning on YouTube, as I'm sure most people do. I was watching people doing like Pokemon stuff,
Mhm.
like bingo races or race to find this Pokemon, stuff like that. Very simple sort of one-on-one challenges. And then I was sort of thinking about what games do I think would be cool to go fast in. Like I'd only ever owned the game for like 3 years at the time, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. But my cousin, going back to him again,
Yeah.
had it as a kid when we were growing up. So I'd go around his house a lot, and we'd basically spend all our day in the Chao Garden. That was where our main interest lie. It was even still that's where my main interest lies in the game. That's just always followed me. It's one of those massive nostalgia things. It's my favorite thing to do in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, that game's quite cool. It goes quite fast. I'm playing it on my laptop. On keyboard, by the way, which is very, very difficult to complete that game on keyboard.
I bet.
Anybody's tried it.
Any like
so
3D platformer with a keyboard, my brain it cannot register it.
Because it only allows 2 directions to be processed at one time, which only then allows for 8-bit directions. And on a 3D speed platformer like Sonic, not very useful.
Good luck.
So yeah, very, very fine achievement of mine was actually completing the game more than one time. 180 emblems on keyboard. I'm a bit of a masochist apparently by doing that more than once. So I thought I'd search out this game on YouTube to see, has anybody ever done it really quickly? And I came across the runner Talon2461, who's probably the biggest person to ever speedrun this game for any consecutive amount of times, who was the world record holder of the 180 emblem category at the time.
And that's like all of them, right? That's full completion?
That's basically the 100% category of the game. So I watched like his run on YouTube and I thought, this is so cool. And I actually noticed in the corner of his stream, he had like his Twitch channel advertised. And I had a vague idea of what Twitch was at this time because back in 2013, I think it must have been, I signed up to Twitch to be part of the first ever Twitch Plays Pokemon.
Oh, that's cool.
So I actually have an account that goes back, like 8 years, but was basically dormant for like 4. So I had a vague idea of what Twitch was and what it meant. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, this is a game website. So I found his channel on Twitch and I was like, oh, he streams this game quite regularly on the weekends. So I started watching him do 180 emblem runs when he was still grinding out, trying to get better world records. And I basically just fell in love with it. I was like, this is a game I really enjoy. I'm watching somebody play it and it looks really, really cool. And a bit of my brain went, I can do that. Like, this is impressive and everything, but I can do that. So I was like, I want to try this. Fortunately, I wasn't dumb enough to go straight into 180 emblem category, which at the time the world record was just under 9 hours real time. I started playing the Dark Story because the Hero Story didn't interest me that much. Like I was always edgy as a kid. I liked Shadow over Sonic. I liked Eggman. I didn't like Tails, so it made more sense. So yeah, I started playing that. I started looking up a bit more like what happens in just the Dark Story run because I knew A ranks weren't optimal for speed. And yeah, I basically just started playing it then, practicing that a little bit with the full intention of doing a 180 emblem run. So I did Dark Story for a couple of weeks, started a bit of familiarity with it, understood the movement a bit. I had a controller by this point as well. Like I had my PlayStation 4, so I connected it. So I wasn't doing this on keyboard. I wasn't that stupid. And yeah, after about maybe 3-4 weeks of actually playing the game, I went, I want to try a 180 emblem speedrun. So yeah, world record, 9 hours. It took me 23 hours.
Holy shit. I mean, I even think about the animation just to collect an emblem times 180. I'm like, this is too long of a run for me, minus any of the actual run.
I don't think I was using it at the time, but there is a glitch we do have that skips most of the animations, fortunately, that does save 20 odd minutes real time. Although I'm not a fan of it, but that's politics, don't worry about that one. So it wasn't 23 hours consecutive gameplay. It was about 21 and a half hours of consecutive gameplay, or gameplay with a small 2-hour break because I had to go visit my sister in the hospital. She just had like surgery on like a can't remember what it was, but she's had a very minor surgery. She was in hospital for a couple of weeks. So we'd gone in to see her while I was in the middle of the run. And I came home really, really tired, finished off my run, got the 180 emblem begrudgingly after
Did you
about
just
23
leave
and a half
like
hours.
your recording going, or were you splicing?
I didn't have an opportunity to record at this time, so I was doing this offline on my own. Like, this was unstreamed,
okay.
unrecorded. I was doing this because I was on a pretty bad laptop at the time, so I had a lot of slowdown during the game as well. It generally wasn't a very good way to be playing the game. But it was the only method I had at the time because I was too lazy to buy a PC.
Mm-hmm.
I had the money, being in Germany, earning, as I said, decent money tax free. I just didn't.
Like, I don't need it right now.
I was even considering streaming. Like, oh, this is a really cool idea. I want to do it. And I was like, I'll get a PC someday. I just kept putting it off for no real reason. I didn't have a reason not to get one and start. I just kept putting it off. I did a few months of doing it like that, where I just do offline runs of 180. Of Dark Story. I even did a little bit of Hero, which I'm not a massive fan of, but I did do it for a little bit as the practice. But everything I was doing was purely, I want to be good at 180 emblems. I didn't care about where I was in Dark. I didn't care about where I was in Hero. All I wanted to do was that. And I think after a few months, I got my time down to about 15 hours on my PC. This is probably after about 6 months of playing. Still not, I wasn't grinding regularly. I'd turn on the game, I'd practice a level here and there. There was no real grind. It was just, I was naturally getting better at the game. I was practicing some of this, the stages, just natural development of not being terrible at the game.
I find
anymore.
it very interesting that you were just playing it too, not like, oh, I need to, or I want to record this for submissions. It's just like, oh, I really like this game. I want to get better at it.
Yeah, I mean, I had the intention, but I tried this is how bad my laptop was at the time. I tried downloading OBS and it couldn't record at 60 frames per second.
No way.
Like, it was, I'd put it on and everything in my laptop would just be like 20 FPS.
Giving up.
It wasn't that I didn't want to, I literally had no way of doing it. So yeah, I've been playing the game, closing in, so I started in very early 2019 was when I committed to becoming a speedrunner. And I was doing it as a hobby. I play it here and there. You know, I'd get better at the game. I didn't really care about it. It wasn't until I actually started streaming, and I didn't even have the intention, to be honest, of becoming a full-time like Sonic speedrunner. Like, I was going to be doing other things. I wanted to play other games, but just the more and more I played it, and the better I got, you just have that. I can still be better. I can still be better. I can still be better. Just in your head constantly, like, oh, I just PB'd. But that run sucks. It's a
every
horrible
single run
speedrunner,
ever.
horrible speedrunner mentality that we do have. Like, if you guys aren't familiar with it, it's a horrible thing. Like, you can never be satisfied. Like, I've set world records and gone, that run sucks. It really did.
People say the same thing about like hard drugs, like I think crystal meth and stuff. It's like you're just chasing the dragon. You just need a little more.
Is. Like, you get that small, like, little hit of serotonin. Like, oh my god, I PV'd. It's like, and then you sit back 2 hours later and you go, but I messed up that, and you just end up hating on like this thing because I suppose I saw it in a Twitch chat today. Like, you don't ever want to be satisfied though, do you, with a speedrun? Because once you become satisfied with it, your drive to then play it and be better sort of goes a little bit. Because it's almost that I don't want to see people see me making mistakes. I want to be as close to perfect as I can be. If you know you've thrown a run out there with a 20-second mistake in it, you're like, but my run there could be 20 seconds faster. Therefore, it's not perfect. I can do better. I want to go do better. So
and that's the beautiful, insane part, in my opinion, is that you're chasing perfection and you know it's near impossible, but you still want it.
Yeah, there's very few games out there which you can do something frame perfect for more than a few seconds. But we still have that ridiculous drive in us to want to chase that for some God knows what reason. Some mental deformity we have that goes, you lost 3 frames, you failed, try again. And for some reason we listen to that and we do, and we go back and we try it again.
Now, I'd mentioned it offline, but I definitely want to give a shout out and a congratulations to you on finally PBing Hero Story. I'd watch you probably for almost 20 hours at least, collectively do Hero Story. And something tells me you're not a big fan of Hero Story.
No, so I've never been a huge fan of Hero Story. Like, I love Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. I love the game to bits. I love getting the A ranks. I love the Chao. I can't even talk about how much I love the Chao. I've spent most of my time in this game, in the Chao Garden. Even still, like, even with speedrunning, I spent a lot of time learning the speedrun for that, changing the speedrun for that. Like, it's probably the one part of the game where I'd be considered an expert, if not the expert on it.
That's cool, especially for a game this much older.
Yeah, I think for a game that was originally released in like 2001 on the Dreamcast, after only 2 years of running the game, I'm one of the few people that have dedicated their time to this area of the game that I think I am considered the area expert. Like, if people have a question or an idea, I'm usually the first person people come to questioning it. I recently lost all the world records in the speedruns to another runner, Liam Dunn. Shout him out, because well done to him for beating them, because my records, they weren't perfect, but they were good. So he's done very well to beat them. But at the same time, I taught him what he knows. So there's that almost little, oh no, I've been beaten, but a little bit of pride in that I've been beaten by somebody that came into this with that passion I had, but without the knowledge, and I've now helped somebody maintain that next, or get to that next level. And I almost think that's where I'm getting with that category. That I care more now about watching other people develop, make it better, and that maybe I can't execute it as well as other people, but I can teach people that can do that execution if they can get that time, which is almost just as nice for me to watch it come from. It wasn't even a category when I started running the game. It wasn't even a category. It was just becoming a category when I started streaming. So it's still relatively new. And to see that I've had such an impact on it in such a short amount of time is quite cool. But yeah, that's how much I like Hero Story, by the way. You asked me about Hero Story and I deflected to something else.
It's a coping mechanism, I can tell.
It is. But yeah, I did recently get my first sub 24, so my first 23 time in this story, which is definitely, I consider, my not full-time retirement point, but I have no intention of going back to that anytime soon.
Now, I sadly missed the ending of that run. Was there a glorious pop-off for the people?
There was not quite of the Witness Me caliber. I think at that point I was frustrated because I'd been chasing that top 25 at the time was what I was chasing, and that was an amalgamation of weeks of frustration just coming out at once. I won't lie, it was a pre-planned pop-off. I had planned that I was going to do that, but maybe not with quite the emotion that I had. I think getting top 25 for the first time in Hero Story, I think, established me as being one of the top 20 runners in the game at the time. And so it was almost a sort of, I'm here, notice me moment. And I'm a massive Mad Max fan. And for those who've never seen Mad Max Fury Road, there's a scene in it where they spray themselves with chrome in the mouth and they're like, witness me, as they go off to a glorious act. So it was just that sort of nerd in me Mad Max fan that came out. I was like, witness me, as I did something awesome. But yeah, so my end of the 23 run, I'm not on camera this time. I'm in a VC with friends, so I've just got like my Dunsparce picture up in the video camera. Yeah. But I just slide down in my chair like this, and I'm like, I'm free! And that's basically it. I'm just like, it was another moment of pure relief. I'm free of this story. Like, I don't care where I am on the leaderboard anymore. I think I'm 22nd, but that isn't what mattered. It was, I broke that milestone of 24. I hit the 23, and I'm content with that. I originally thought the top 25 would be content, but I saw how close I was to that next landmark. And it's like,
it's weird even how small cosmetic achievements can mean so much, like getting a few seconds off a minute marker or top 15 versus top 10. Again, it's that whole twisted mentality. I mean, it's only a 22-second PB. It's not even that big, and I suffered like 30 seconds of deaths in the run. So like, I still don't consider it to be a top tier run. It's not the best I can produce, but as I said, you only push yourself when you still enjoy the game, and I don't enjoy Hero Story, so I'm willing to accept where I am. All right, well, you got the PS gun up to your head. You have to say something nice about Hero Story. What is it? What do you like?
The Knuckles stage, so the hunting stages in the game, which are the RNG ones. As much as I like to mess around with people that do solely focus on hunting, I do think it is the most fun part of the game, because every other part of the game is you input frame perfectly, you'll get a frame perfect time. It's not possible to do, but that is essentially what can happen. Whereas the hunting stages are RNG, and it's very much you see piece, you adapt to piece.
A little more reactionary versus that muscle memory.
Exactly, yeah. So you can almost, I mean, you can't, but you're almost at that point where if you play perfectly, you can do a stage with your eyes closed. You can't in hunting because you have to react to every moment. I think that does add an extra level of excitement. So that is definitely the most fun part of Hero Story, in my opinion, is the hunting stages with Knuckles.
Have you ever submitted like for marathon or anything? Do you have any interest in ever doing a marathon?
Yeah, I've only ever performed in one marathon. I performed in Calithon Memathon this year. In Sonic Adventure 2, I did a run called Big Percent, which is Big the Cat cameos. Big Percent. So Big the Cat is a character from like the Sonic Adventure 1 game. He's the very annoying giant cat that all his levels are fishing. It's a fishing simulator character. Why they ever put him into the game, I don't know.
Oh my god.
But he is very meme heavy in basically the Sonic community because he's not the most intelligent character. Every game he features in, he's given stupid lines. He's basically just chasing after his pet frog, Froggy, with a really stupid like voice, like Froggy. That's basically what he sounds like. It's no, that's not even a bad impression. That's how bad he sounds. So yeah, they featured him in Sonic Adventure 2 as like a cameo character in a lot of the levels. So the run I did was finding all of his little cameos in the game. It took me just under an hour. I have submitted to other marathons unsuccessfully, but that is the first one I've been accepted to, and it was loads of fun. I had a great time doing it. So I do definitely plan to submit in the future and actually do a main serious speedrun. I think the problem I do have, though, is that I'm good at the game, but I'm not one of the best players at the game. And I think if we want one of those showcases, we want it to be one of the top 3 or 4 runners.
Yeah, I mean, preferably, so you see pretty much everything. Which is also a respect to people's time that they've committed to a game, I think.
I'd say I think if you've earned that position to be, one of the top 5 players, they're the best person to showcase it. Like, why would you accept the 22nd best person when the 3rd person is submitted? Like,
because maybe they're not a prophet.
They have, maybe true. But I think in terms of you want to showcase the game the best, if nobody else submits, I'd happily take the role. But I would step aside for somebody, one of the top players willingly. If they went, oh, I'm submitting to this, I'm like, I'd prefer if they got it because they put on a better showcase of the game. And at the end of the day, you do these things, one, to promote yourself, but in almost a bigger part, to promote the game. Like, I want the community to grow.
For sure.
So I'd rather the best person perform and be like, this is how cool the game can look when done at the best level. Because I think that will entice more people to go, oh my god, I want to try that.
Have you ever thought about like picking up a new game, or do you still kind of feel unresolved with a lot of stuff in Sonic Adventure 2?
I definitely do feel unresolved in Sonic Adventure 2. Like, I have currently what I'd call 3 targets for what I call my semi-retirement. So I want to get a 23 in Dark Story now, which is considerably easier than Hero, for me anyway, purely because it's the one I'm good at. It's the one I enjoy, so grinding it's a lot easier for me. And I already had like a high 24 coming into this, which has mistakes in it. So I don't need to improve that much to get that time. And then I'm unfinished with the 180 emblem category. Like, I don't know what my target time for that is going to be at the moment because we're going through a timing method change. So I don't quite know what world record is in terms of that time and how close I want to be to it. My goal time for the old time method would have been sub 9 hours. But I'm planning to step away from the way they do it to focus more on the new timing method. So that almost becomes an irrelevant time. So that's why I'm definitely going to Dark next, is I want to see what my target would be with the new time method. But yeah, I definitely have thought about other games. Like, I have done every now and again. I've done a Crash Bash run. I've done
fucking Crash Bash, of course.
I did it in all trophies run because it was funny.
You did all trophies? You really you don't mind long runs then? Holy cow!
I love a long run. I love sitting out and grinding a game for hours.
I feel like my mental deterioration as the hours go by. I'm like, I don't know about this.
I think, yeah. So I found it fun. It was frustrating at times. God, that game's annoying if you're not good at it. And I hadn't played it since I was about 9, so I was really, really bad at it. But no, that was fun. I've also I have done Pokemon Platinum speedruns a few times. That's probably the closest I've come to seriously learning another game. I was doing Manipulus. I did, 3 or 4 runs. I didn't do a lot, but I was definitely enjoying it. I also have currently the record in FIFA run.
In what? Sorry, it kind of cut out.
in FIFA Street.
Really?
So I've done 2 runs. I've held the record twice. The other time I lost it was by the only other person to ever do a run. No, I've done 3 runs. Apologies, 3 runs. So I did 1 run. Nobody ever done it, so I got the world record by de facto only person to ever do it.
I take it was just a game that you enjoyed then.
It was a game I had fun with as a kid. Like, it was one of those. Oh, I think this would be quite funny to do as a speed run. Nobody's ever done it. I'll give it a go. So yeah, I did it the run. Got it up on SRC. As the world record holder, only person to ever do it. And I raced Hypno Shark, who beat me only because he had an Xbox which has faster loads than PlayStation 2. I'm saying that now. That's the only reason he won the race. But then he beat my time doing it. Exactly, yeah. So he beat my time doing it. So then he got the new world record. And then while that was going on, it was the first time a large number of people had seen it. So people were pointing out like routing optimization, stuff I didn't really care about when I first ran it. I just went into it and went, I'm just going to play the game, buy a player, play another level, keep going until I finish it. So once we had a little bit of a route, I then, like the same day I lost the race, I did another run with a routing, and yeah, I beat it by like 12 more minutes.
Oh, nice.
Like that. But even that's like a 5-hour run. It's not a short run by any stretch. So doing that twice in a day was fun. Yeah, so I'm definitely considering learning the new Pokemon game when it comes out. I think if I can hit my Sonic target times by then, I will potentially double down and just focus on that game for a while. I'll take a mini break.
This is something that's always really interesting to me, actually, and it's that each game can kind of, how you run it is so widely different. Like playing FIFA versus Sonic, playing Pokemon, they're all very different. So is there anything that stands out to you in a speedrun, like, oh, I really like this aspect, or you're just like, if I enjoyed the game casually, I'll probably like speedrunning it? Like for me, movement tech is a biggie.
I'm not too... I almost find like my favorite thing to do fast and feel fast in is menuing.
Okay.
Which is often underappreciated, I think, trait in speedruns.
Oh,
for
sure,
fast
yeah.
people can menus. So I notice it when I do something like the... especially now, we've had a timing change in Sonic Adventure 2 where pauses are now counted for the first time. So if you're restarting a level, that menuing time is now relevant, which it never was before. And I think because of that, and because I care about menuing, I might actually have a community gold in one of the bosses because I have the fastest reset in the boss, which I think is quite cool. That probably won't stand. It's not. I can beat it by about 5 or 6 frames. I just haven't got. Need a frame perfect pause to match it as well. Like on the first frame it enters, then the fastest reset is the level. I think I did it in 0.26 of a second from when the fight starts to
this
restarting.
Man buttons.
So I find menuing very fun, which I think why I enjoy Pokemon. And FIFA Street had a lot of menuing as well, because you're menuing between the level, the matches and the players and stuff like that. Yeah, I think I just a lot of the time it's if I enjoy a game, I think I'll enjoy the speedrun. But at the same time, I don't want to play a game I enjoy too much because I don't want to break it in my head. Like my favorite game ever is Horizon Zero Dawn. Massively looking forward to the sequel if I can ever get a PlayStation 5. But I will never speedrun that game because I don't want to break that perfect image in my head of I had so much fun playing this the first time. I had so much fun playing it New Game Plus. I don't want to then find out all the faults in it. Like, I won't even watch a speedrun because I don't want to know what's wrong with it. I love it that much.
So I was just talking about this yesterday since it's the PlayStation reveal. I ended up doing a restream, and Horizon was one of my favorite games of all time. And again, I would never speedrun it for pretty much the same reason. Like, I think you wind up hating a game a little bit on some aspects. Yeah,
there's definitely parts of a game that, you will start, I think, just mentally, like, despising almost, like, little bits of a level that can really screw you up in a speedrun. And, like, you then have that inbuilt, I really don't like this level, or I really don't like this, which you don't have when you played it casually because you just had so much fun doing it. I think games along that line, I'd still consider speedrunning. Something like the new Tomb Raider series, like the ones that came out last few years, which is a similar sort of design of game. I think I'd consider something like that I could speedrun, because although I very much enjoyed the games, it wasn't to that level of love, I must say. So I think, I have to sort of a nice window of really enjoyed the game, don't love the game. That sort of bracket is where I can speedrun something.
Interesting.
I think Pokemon is the only exception purely because you don't break the game as such. Like you're not a lot of time you're not clipping through walls, you're not, manipulating a level 100 Pokemon to appear in the grass at the start and just playing the game boringly. You still have to execute pretty much the entire game. You're just doing it the best way. Whereas so many like platformers and stuff like that, you are physically finding ways to break the game, which is something I don't want to do.
There's a lot of popular Pokemon runners, and it just seems like a fairly popular speed game. I'm kind of wondering, just because I haven't really given the time to it myself, what makes them entertaining both from a runner standpoint and a viewer standpoint?
I think a lot of it is just because it's such a beloved franchise. It's the same reason that Mario is so popular. Like, obviously Mario has a lot more tech than Pokemon does in terms of movement and stuff like that. But I think because it's just so beloved, people like seeing games they love performed to the best standard. It's why like competitive Pokemon is popular, even though at the end of the day, it's no real different than a battle you can have in the game. It's just two of the best players doing it. I find it personally, that I enjoy doing it because it's a game I love and doing it to the best of my ability, and watching other people because it's simply just watching people that are proving how fast you can do something. I love watching people like test the limits of stuff. Like, can you complete Pokemon Red in 5 hours? Well, yeah, you complete it in under 2 or whatever it is now. But like, that's this concept you just don't think of as a kid, that you spend 3 weeks playing through this game to finally get to Elite Four, and it's like, oh, this guy did it in 2 hours.
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
nuts.
Your head's like, how is that even possible? And it's just realizing how that's possible. And you watch your own and you think, oh my god, everything was so perfect. That's so incredible. And they're like, I lost like 3 minutes here, and you're like, what? How did that possibly lose time anywhere? I think that's just the whole concept of because it's just so popular. I think it just resonates with a lot more people of watching. Oh my god, you can actually do this fast. And
yeah, I guess that's fair.
That's why I think you see so many popular sort of older games. Your Mario, Sunshine, your Odysseys, your 64s, games that people
Nintendo
played a lot. Nintendo just has great speed games. I can't lie. But, games people love, like Zelda games. I've never played one personally, but I understand they're very popular speedrun. Again, probably a very different concept of game, but I think because it's just such a popular game with people, they just want to see how can you break this game? How can you do it so fast? I think that's mainly the popularity to it for people that don't have any intention of running it themselves.
It's insane to me, and I won't go off on this because I'm sure anybody that's followed me for long enough is probably tired of hearing it. But damn Nintendo, they make so good IPs, but they're such a terrible company. God, I hate them.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that point of view. They're pretty bad at times. They really are. That's a shame.
Now, which category? Just kind of make sure I don't forget anything here. Which category do you think you've grinded out the most for? I mean, I guess any game, but I'm assuming Sonic.
I think I've put the most overall time into 180 emblems, purely because it was my main run for a very long time. Like, I did Dark Story for a few months when I first started streaming. It was while I was working around work. It was like my main run. So I probably put, I think, just over 2,000 attempts into that. But even though I don't have nearly nearly as many attempts in 180 because it's such a long category, I think just because it's so long, and because it's the one I've really practiced as well, because with like the story ones, you don't need the points. You can sort of work around stuff. If you lose a second here, it doesn't matter, where if you make a small mistake in 180 emblems, you could lose the A rank, which really does matter. Then it's playing the whole level. It could be one little 2-minute mistake or 2 second mistake could cause 2 minutes of time loss because you have to replay a level. So I think just purely on how much time I spent playing the category and then practicing it, 108 emblems is, I'd imagine, easily my most. I'd imagine it's probably over a month of real time playing that category.
That's pretty awesome. Pretty scary, but pretty awesome.
It's a lot of time. I mean, I've got just over 2,000 hours now in SA2 on Steam.
Nice.
It was on a couple of hundred when I started speedrunning.
And are there any speed games that like you enjoy watching but you would never really run it yourself?
I think racing games. I think a lot of racing games I enjoy watching. Obviously I watch a lot of Hit and No Shot, so Crash Team Racing. I don't really have any intention of ever speedrunning it. I think I did one NF speedrun, but I wasn't using a load remover. I was just sort of playing the game for time and see how fast I could do it compared to like world records. But I think most racing games. I like watching one of my friends, Tails, plays the Sonic racing games, so ASRT and ASR, and like they're just very fun to watch. They're quite broken games.
Yeah,
a lot
sure.
A lot of animated racing games are. But I've even watched stuff like Burnout speedruns or Need for Speed, and they're just generally fun because you can't be perfect. Like it's not like the original Mario game where the world record is looking to be frame perfect. You're never going to get that in a racing game because there's so many variables. But it's watching, I struggled with this race. It took me like 2 hours to complete, and they're like lapping the car in front of them. It's like, bruh, like how can you be so good at a racing game? So stuff like that I think is really cool, but I don't think I'd ever actually consider running myself.
Kind of that same idea what we were talking about earlier. I've thought about and my big one is pretty much anything GameCube era is my jam, as well as PlayStation games. But like Double Dash seems so cool, but like it kind of takes out some of the fun if you're like, all right, I need to hit the same perfect line every time. Also hope for good RNG and not get blue shelled and stuff like that. Like, I'll pass. But it looks cool.
Yeah, the Mario ones definitely, purely because of the item rolls. Like, at least in Crash Team Racing, they're kind of fair almost, that you don't get screwed over by the enemies very often.
Yeah.
Whereas in Mario, there's so many blue shells, lightning, stuff like that you do just
more often that you do get screwed over than don't. And
I did almost. Speaking of GameCube, I did almost forget to mention that I did actually. I completely forgot because I kind of wanted to forget that I did do Sonic Adventure DX and Sonic Heroes speedruns for a little while as well. Which did sort of amalgamate in my 430 emblem run, which you do the completion category of all three of them.
Jesus, how long is that?
The world record is just under 24 hours. It took me 36, I want to say.
Did you take a nap at least? Or is this continuous 36?
So it was a continuous, I was awake the entire time, but there was a 2-hour break in it because I was doing it over my birthday. It was like my birthday stream. I was like, I'm going to do this stupidly long meme run.
Yeah.
It'd only ever been done, I think, 3 times. I was the third person to do it. So, it's been done more than 3 times, but I was the third person to ever do it. So, all guaranteed third place on the leaderboard. Nice. So, yeah, I went out and did it. But because it was my birthday, I got a message partway through. Unfortunately, when I was molding one of the levels, because I was tired and not very good at Sonic Heroes, I've been dying a lot. And I got a message from Mum saying, I'm coming around in like an hour.
Oh,
and I was like,
no.
Okay. I was like, I'm going to use this opportunity stream to go take a breather, make sure my flat is tidy. I've been awake for 30 hours just throwing all my fucking rubbish away. So yeah, I just sort of took it like a 2-hour break, muted my stream, turned off the camera, but it was still running. I did all that and then came back to it. But yeah, I think it was like 34 or 36 hours. I think it took me something like that in total. There's one continuous stream. So that was fun.
That's nuts. No. Could not be bothered.
The thing is, most people that go into it are good at 2 of the games, or they're good at all the games. Like Talon, who I was mentioning before, was my sort of why I got into SA2. Currently holds the world record, and he has speedrun Sonic Adventure 2 a lot. He did quite a bit of Heroes for a while, and then he learned to do Sonic Adventure DX where he did the run. So he was very well versed. So Just Lemrez, who was the previous world record holder and the person who sort of originated the category, is a very good Sonic Heroes runner, is a very good Sonic DX runner, and a decent SA2 runner. So he went in, he was trying to break, they went in, trying to break the sub-day record before Talon got there first.
Sub-day. I don't think I've ever heard that before. Jeez.
But that was the goal, was, can this be done in a sub-day? And then I think it was recently done as well by my other friends, D-Trader 1. I think they got 28 hours, 26 hours, something like that. They got a decent time. But again, they practiced and they'd already speedrun Heroes. I'm the first idiot to go in that I only speedrun one of the games. I'd done like 2 Sonic Adventure DX runs, and I'd casually played through half of Heroes the weekend before. Like, I knew Sonic Heroes, I played it as a kid, but I didn't know any speedrun tech. Fortunately, you don't need any ranks in that game. It's just finish the stages.
Oh, thank goodness.
So it was just a matter of just go in and just keep playing until you finish everything. And yeah, over half my run was Sonic Heroes.
Do you like the other Sonic games, like the 2D games at all, or other 3D games?
I've never been a fan of 2D Sonic. It's just something about it. I'm not a massive fan of 2D games in general. There's been very few over the years that I've enjoyed. And even the ones that I'd say are 2D that I've enjoyed weren't really 2D. Stuff like Rayman. Rayman's kind of a 2D game, but at the same time, it doesn't look like a 2D game.
Yeah.
Like the original one. So that's sort of the closest I've ever come to enjoying a 2D game. Whereas Sonic, I'd never found much love for the 2D Sonic. I don't know why. They're fun games from all accounts, but I just never found myself enjoying them massively.
Interesting.
And then a lot of the games post GameCube era for Sonic as well, I've never had much love for. I haven't played a lot of them in fairness, but I tried Sonic 06 on stream a few months ago.
Yeah, when is Sonic 06 runs?
I'm never doing Sonic 06. I hated
God,
the game
it's
so
beautiful.
much.
It's so terrible. It's so great.
I just couldn't enjoy it. Like I didn't mind. So I enjoyed playing Silver, which a lot of people disliked, I think. But I didn't mind Silver. I thought it was a fun mechanic. I thought it was quite a fun way to go fast. The Sonic levels drove me insane. The Shadow levels just weren't that fun. I hated 06 so much. I was so relieved to be done with it. Sonic was by far, in my opinion, the worst character in the game. I really didn't like it. But then I played Shadow the Hedgehog, which I actually quite enjoyed Shadow the Hedgehog. It's again a game I wouldn't speedrun, but some of the levels were just obnoxiously long and directionless at times. But I had some fun playing that. But I played through Generations during a 48-hour stream where I completed that, and I did not like it. I think a lot of the 2D aspects, again, just weren't for me. I think the only other one I've played is Forces, and again, I did not enjoy Forces. I don't think anybody really did. Or if they say they do, they're lying to themselves.
Are you not jumping on this Colors Ultimate train?
I never played the original, and I've watched people play it, but I think, again, it's 3D and 2D, and I just don't think I'd enjoyed the 2D sections.
Yeah.
And 3D sections, I think because of the Wisp mechanic in the game, that it's almost moving away from a lot of the fast, fun platforming that I do enjoy to using items to get through areas. It's almost more like a climbing game than anything else. So I'm not sure. Having watched it, I'm not a massive fan of the concept. So I don't think I'd hugely enjoy it.
I've heard I guess it's probably the Switch version is like super dumb, broken, like doesn't function.
Yeah. Again, I've not played it myself. I have watched a video of how bad some of the rendering is in the Switch version.
That's awesome.
And it's terrible. The PC version isn't great, but I've had friends complain about like motion blur or something like that when they're going through it. I think Amy, who you know can go into your stream, she's said she's had it for a few days now. She's only just got used to being able to play it with the motion blur.
Oh, really?
Because it made her feel sick the first time she played it.
Yeah, pretty much. That's one of the first things I turn off motion blur and literally everything because it looks terrible for one. Two, I get real bad motion sickness on some things.
So yeah, I think it had a lot of hype and it might have been a little rushed from what I gather. It's not looked like the best. Another failed Sonic release, I'd say. Unfortunate growing history of those in the last decade and a half.
Sorry to backtrack it just a little bit, but I do like to ask. It's an interesting transition. Whatever like made you wind up deciding, you know what, I need to get a PC, and then you wound up starting streaming. Like, how'd you get into streaming? I guess.
So as I said before, I had wanted to do it for quite a while. Like I'd always been wanting to stream and always almost just finding an excuse why not to bother starting now, even though it wasn't even like I was lying to myself that I wanted to stream. I always did want to stream. I thought I'd enjoy it. I never had intention. I don't have an intention of making a career out of it, but it's a really fun hobby. As I said before, it's just playing games, chilling out with friends, just chatting and just enjoying yourself. The reason I eventually decided now I'm going to do it is because I was working for Amazon at the time. So this was during COVID, like early summer last year, or even maybe end of spring, and they gave all their employees a bonus for working through COVID. So they gave us like, I don't know, £500 or something like that. And I was like, if ever there was a sign, now's the time to just buy a PC. I was like, you've just been given a lump of money for nothing. Just buy a PC, start streaming. And I was like, I just went, and I finally just did. I went around and I was like, I have this now. There's no excuse. It wasn't even that I needed, couldn't afford it. I could always afford it. It was just I was just putting it off. It was like, now it's like doubly, you've been given a load of money, just buy a PC. So yeah, I finally did just sort of bite down. I was like, I bought a PC, and all the stuff that came with it. And yeah, just turned on the game, started streaming, and I'm fortunate in that because I've been around the Sonic Adventure 2 community for so long at this point. Like I was a well-known name for about 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah. Oh wow, that
and
long.
I've been around since about 2017. Yeah, I think end of 2017. So I've been around a while, and people have been knowing that I've been like speedrunning offline.
Mm-hmm.
So there was always that little bit of when are you streaming? Like almost, I wouldn't say like a massive amount of anticipation, but people were aware that I could play the game. I intended to stream it at some point, and I already had a little bit of a name for myself, so I came in with a little bit of an advantage. I wasn't instantly streaming to 0 viewers, like unfortunately a lot of people do end up starting. I already had a little bit of like notoriety, and people were like, oh, this is a name. We finally get to actually watch him gameplay, because I never been able to record until that point either. So I was like, oh, I got a 43-minute time in Dark Story, but I couldn't show anybody.
Yeah.
I didn't have the means to record it. So it was like almost that bit of intrigue that, oh, we can actually go watch. Is he as good as he says? Or can he do these things he says he can do? So I came with that little bit of an advantage that people.
Then you kind of don't get that 0 viewer experience that most people get the first couple times.
Yeah, I was very fortunate they did sort of allow me to get to affiliate quite quickly, and then once you start getting your own emotes, you sort of realize why you love doing it. There was nothing more fun than seeing like your image. It was never my face. I always had Dunsparce emotes. It was just nice being able to see this is related to my channel on somebody else's stream. Like I still love it now. I'll be lurking in a stream and somebody will use one of my emotes.
Oh,
and
it's the best feeling ever.
It's a little bit warm inside. Like it's all well and good everyone going, oh, I love your emotes in your channel, and that's the only place you see them. But when you see people actually using them somewhere else, it's like they like them. They do actually have a use. It's really cool feeling.
Actually, did you make your emotes?
I don't use them. No, I use so I mentioned D-Tray before. It's his current girlfriend. Her name's Mew.
Oh, okay.
And she's a fantastic artist. She's just done all my emotes.
Yeah, I had someone else do all mine. I'm as creative as a brick, so.
Oh, I've got no artistic skill. My sister's the artist, but she doesn't do digital art. She does all hand art, so I'm not great for emotes. Yeah, fortunately, yeah. So I was the first one I think to use it for emotes, and then he started using her. So I used him for emotes, or used her for emotes before her boyfriend did. So I started that trend.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's cool. I love seeing emotes on Twitch. It's really fun.
And we are getting to about that time where I kind of want to start wrapping things up here. Do you have like any other hobbies that kind of take up a good amount of your life, I guess? That's a weird way to phrase it. Do you have any other hobbies?
Yeah, so one that I feel like I'd be reluctant not to mention is that whilst I have settled into a career, I have all my streaming, I'm actually attempting to become a full-time author.
Oh, really?
So it would be accounting I've always considered to be the realistic target. If I can make a career in accounting, I'd be happy.
Mm-hmm.
But out of nowhere, like I was never big in writing at school. It was one sort of thing. It basically came down to a girl, as most boys' stories do. When I was in my late teenage years, it got me interested in the idea of writing. And I'm currently working on a novel series that I do in my free time when inspiration hits me. I currently have a deadline set for my first one to be completed by Halloween.
Oh, wow, that's coming up.
I've been working on it for about 8 years now, but I've been inspired by my stream to actually stop rewriting and deleting everything I write and starting again like I have been for years now, to actually get this first one out there. Even if it's not the finished article, even if I do go back and edit it afterwards, but to actually have something down and complete.
Mm-hmm. What sort of genre are you writing?
So it's a dystopian sort of future one.
You've already sold me.
Basically, so it's, without going to, I don't want to give too much away in case I do ever actually finish it and get it out there. But it mainly follows 2 different trilogies that are distinctively very different. Like one set in like rural, like on an island. It's all very sci-fi, mystical. You're supposed to think it's nothing to do with anything happening in the other stories. Like it's almost supposed to come across as a separate trilogy. And then the other one is set in like the dystopian sort of cities, government power has been corrupted, all that sort of thing. I'm focusing on a former scientist who's become a drug addict, alcoholic, basically seeing a creation that he made to try and attempt to save the world now being used to further destroy it, and just like it messes with people's brains, almost like a form of mind control, but not like more zombification, that they become less of actual thinking beings and more just means of making money for corporations. And basically his journey then from his redemption arc, from going from this guy that was shamed, has nothing left in his life, and how he's now got to try and turn everything around with the little bit of allies he can muster up and try and fix basically his own creation. And then after a lot of intricate story plot lines, the two somehow merge into a big ending finale, couple of books. So hopefully about 8.
Yeah, no spoilers. Hold up.
But yeah, without giving any major details away, that is the plan. So
I'm surprised you have like a whole kind of series planned out. And I guess that's what most authors probably do. But my brain is just like one book, and that would be impressive. It would be like, this is the whole thing going on.
I think a lot of people go into it with the plan of one book, and then they see that if it gets popular, or they sort of can't get everything they want into it, then it sort of expands.
Yeah.
And just as I've been thinking about it, I'm thinking, well, that can't go in the same story as that one. It's got to be separate. That can't then fit in with that, or this is... Because it all started off as an original, like, I was going to do one novel, tell the whole story, it'd be done. And then I was like, but I want to continue that story. And it was like,
yeah.
And it was like, I want to add this whole other element to it, but that can't then fit into that. It needs to be its own story. And it just merged from what was going to be like a 1-book series. It was only going to be a trilogy, and now it's set it up in like 8-9 books, like concept. That I need to just get it down, to be honest. I've been trying to, for years, I've been trying to get it down on page and just struggling. Again, I think almost that speedrunner mentality of nothing's ever good enough.
Yeah.
And it comes into that as well, that I write something and I go, at the time you're thinking, oh, this is amazing, I'm getting a really good spell out here. And then you go back and read it and go, I don't like the wording of that. That can come later, or that needs to be earlier. And you just end up, I'll just start again. And it's almost like just hitting reset on a run, but it's like,
almost
can't do that.
Nobody that's a creative likes what they make. So that makes sense.
It is. It's just an unfortunate sort of toxic mentality that people in that sort of world have. I do need to just, I'd say that's probably my main hobby, is I'm trying to get that done.
Is Halloween a personal deadline, or like have you actually talked to publishing people? I don't really know how the booking works.
No, I've not discussed it with publishers. I basically want to get this out there and as an entity before I even consider publishing. Like, I don't know if I'd want to do it self-published or like through a publication or anything until I've actually got it down and maybe got a little bit of interest for it.
Yeah.
Like, shot off to a few people and they were like, oh, it's quite good. Or because at the end of the day, I could think it's the best thing in the world, and everyone that reads it can go, this is terrible, you're never going to sell a book. And it's the reality of it that you don't know until that's sort of out there.
Well, if you need someone to beta book test,
I've had actually a few people offer me that. But the Halloween deadline came from one of my regular viewers, Foxhound, who's been very supportive in the process. Basically, constantly sort of, he's one of the first people that's actually regularly wanted updates, like, how much have you written this week, or have you been working on it, and stuff like that. He's like, I'm like, yeah, I know, I did a few chapters here, and he's like, oh, good progress. And I'd be like, I had a bit of a bad week, sort of, I've not been able to get it down. He's like, oh, that's fine, but you want to get it done. And he's sort of one that's instilled the Halloween deadline on me. So it's sort of, because he's been supporting me so much for it, it's like, I don't, as much as it is a project for me, when you have that sort of extra layer to it, you don't want to let them down more than anything. So I think that's the extra sort of motivation to, even if it's not perfect, even if I don't love every moment of it, get something full and complete that other people can then judge. Like, if other people say you don't need to edit anything and it's just you being too picky, then I know that then. Whereas if it's just me constantly, I'm never going to feel it's good enough, because I feel like I can always do better. So yeah, he's just sort of got me that almost inspiration to go, just get something out there, let other people tell you if it's not good enough, and then work from there, rather than just you constantly self-judging and always being too critical.
That's really cool that you have someone to kind of hold you accountable, because I think especially when there's virtually no real payoff or no immediate gratification for finishing something like that, it's like, someone that can actually tell you, hey, it's your pace, that's fine, but you should do this if it's something that really makes you happy.
Exactly, and it's something I want to do. Like, I would love to one day be in a position where I can sell the movie rights, finish the books, and then relax and live a comfortable life. Like, I'd still work, I wouldn't I'd probably still work on writing, but to be in a position then when I can get out of the stuck in a 9 to 5 Not that I don't enjoy. I really enjoy my job right now, and I'm looking forward to doing it for years. But I can almost imagine I'd enjoy this more.
Yeah.
So I'm in a wonderful position where that if it doesn't work out, I'm not upset about it. Like I tried it, it didn't work out. Oh well. But that reality of if one day it does work out, just how extra epic that would be. So yeah, it's almost like there's limited pressure. There's not a lot of pressure on it, but I still want it done and out there because I want to see if it works. I want to see if it can go somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess this is a good wrap up spot for that. Thank you again for choosing to come out. I'll be harassing you for your book stuff as well. So
I'm glad to hear it. All the motivation always helps. But yeah, thank you for offering me the chance to come on here and just talk about myself for 2 hours. I've already said I have a good big ego, so this has been a nice little.
Well, hopefully I could inflate it a little bit then. Now, where can the people find you, by the way?
So I'm not really on social media, I won't lie, but you can find me on twitch.tv/a_broken_profit.
Which is right under your face. How convenient.
Yay. How wonderful is that? Or there's a link to my Discord on my stream if you just come and type this my Discord if you want to maybe get to know me on a non-pure streaming level. Yeah, I'm live whenever I can be, really. I don't have a set schedule. I try and stream at the weekends when I'm available and throughout the week when I've had a quietish day. Mostly doing Sonic Adventure 2, so if you have any interest in that, come check me out. Or I could at least point you in the direction of other runners you might enjoy.
Well, awesome. Take care, everybody. Bye.